Welcome to the SwimSwam Breakdown. I'm Coleman Hodges, coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. We are joined, as normal, by Braden Keith, SwimSwam Editor-in-Chief in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Loretta Race, our Senior International Reporter from Kentucky. What's up, guys? How's it going?
Will you guys both be my Valentines?
Oh, God.
Dude, you didn't read our article? Don't fall in love with the swimmer. You'll only get half their heart.
Well,
I'm an ex-swimmer.
You're both slammers, so you're fair game.
So true.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
I have a heart sweater on. You can see the top of the heart.
Ooh.
It's a black heart
today. Yeah.
No, I know. That was tragic, but it was a good game. We fought hard, so there's next year,
Who dat say they're gonna beat them Bengals?
I know. If I hear one more Who Day.
It was a good Super Bowl. It's good Valentine's Day, and now it's about to be a good week in swimming. So let's
like you watched the football game.
Talk about it. I watched the halftime show. First up, Claire Curzan broke an American record at a high school meet. I don't think we've seen too many of those, especially like a high school state meet, but she went 49.24 in the 100-yard fly. She also coupled that with a 49.60 100-yard back. What do we think? What do we think of this Curzan performance?
Loretta and I are just going to shake our heads for the next 30 seconds, and that's going to be our entire response. I'm excited about this training group they got going. Now she's going to get to train with Tori Husk and Reagan Smith at Stanford and Charlotte Hook, who she already trains with. This has got to be the craziest single performance we've seen at a high school meet, right? Like I know Ledecky and Conger did some crazy things. Phelps didn't swim high school. I'm trying to think of who else had this caliber of a performance in a single.
Maybe Missy Franklin, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if she ever did a yards performance that was that like.
Yeah.
Not in high school.
I mean, like Hoffer at juniors when he went like 18.
Not at high. That wasn't at high school.
It wasn't at a high school meet. You're right. Yeah. No, high school state meet. I think this tops it.
Yeah, that's good for her.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Totally crazy. So what I was looking at was the data on the American record for the 100 fly. So Coughlin put it at 50.01 in 2002. Okay. It took until 2015 until Dahlia / Whirl, I think she was still Dahlia then, moved it to 49.89. Okay. So that's 13 years for it to go like 3 100ths. Okay. And now we're talking about, already since 2015, when it dropped under the 50, now, it's like fourth, fifth, I don't know, 4 or 5 swims that are now bringing it down to what she did, which is, what is the time now? 49. Yep. What was it?
49.2.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I mean, it's just like at lightning speed, like it crept, and then now all of a sudden it's like multiple swims.
That's what they say, right? That's the threshold theory of human performance. Like somebody breaks a barrier and then everybody goes wild. It kind of makes sense. We're getting better athletes in the sport, and that means I think that shows up as much underwater as anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of pure strength and athleticism. So,
but she's still only 17 years old. So it's like, you know what I mean?
And that's the other thing is that in that event specifically, it's not only dropped in time, but it's dropped in age too, right? It was, seniors in college, and then it was kind of like younger swimmers in college, and now it's a high school swimmer who is an Olympian in her own right. But
I was about to say, yes, totally, Coleman. That's what I was going to say. It's like she's so versatile that she's one of those, individuals that can totally translate from yards to meters. I mean, she was a finalist. Let's see, in the Olympic trial or the Olympics, what was she? What did she finish at in Tokyo for the 100? 11. So she was a semifinalist. So she's still totally world class in long course meters on top of short course yards. So just total talent.
So excited to see what else we've got from Curzan coming up this year. We've got a lot of big meets. Speaking of a meet that was not supposed to be as big, the Orlando sectional meet turned out to be like our biggest traffic of the weekend because we got to see Caleb Dressel Michael Andrew, Natalie Hinds, Katie Ledecky, a slew of big athletes came to play. Who impressed you the most this weekend?
Got to be Ledecky, right? Dressel was okay. Michael Andrew had another tough meet. We still aren't sure what that means if he's doing more volume. So this is just, he's going to have more of a peak and taper, but Ledecky going faster than she was at the Olympics in the 800 for sure, in the 200 too, right?
Yes.
I don't know exactly what happened in the 400. I would have thought she would have been 358 or something in that. But
still would have taken bronze in Tokyo.
Okay. It's still February. But being faster than she was at the Olympics, especially in the 800 free, that's exciting. That's a big swim. And we know she does that. She swims fast in season. But she's clearly taking to the Florida training. Her closing speed is better than it has been anytime recently. So things are working for her. Early on when we saw the yard swims, we weren't really sure what it meant. But now it's like, worst case, she's in as good a shape as she was at Stanford, and best case, she's in way better shape. So I think this is enough to say that, at least for now, the move was a good decision and is working for her.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I feel like Michael Andrew, for me, was slightly disappointing. He time trialed a 100 breast that was 102.21, which that's kind of slow. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just kind of slow. So for me,
heavy training for a swimmer of his caliber, that's not good. Even if that's,
I think his snake is taking up too much of his time. His new python or boa, or whatever that thing is.
Yeah. Barbosa.
Oh, I don't know. It's disgusting.
Don't throw Barbosa into this.
So Dressel was 49.7, 21.89, a little bit better. 2 free, 149. I don't know. So Ledecky of those was total star of the show.
I agree. And to me, the interesting thing is like Dressel, we've seen him in season before. We kind of know what to expect. These times seem pretty much on par for him during training, right? But Michael Andrew, we've never seen him swim this slow in season. So it's kind of like, what does that mean? Is like Brayden said, is he in training, or is something else going on? What's going on there? It's harder to analyze. I also liked Natalie Hinds' times. She was super close. She threw down really respectable 100 fly, 100 free, 50 free times. I thought that was exciting to see her in her new training base as well, looking pretty good. 200 free too. I think she was like 200. Pretty solid.
That's good for her.
Yeah.
When we see her 148 or something in yards a couple of weeks ago. So 200 in long course is an improvement on that for sure.
In other postgraduate news, Longhorn Townley Haas announced his retirement. Brayden, what did you make of Townley Haas's career now that it is officially over?
He had such an interesting career arc because he missed most of his senior year of high school. If everybody remembers that, he was on this crazy trajectory. And then, there was sort of this sense that he was a breakout at Texas, which he really wasn't. It was just felt like that because he had missed a year that would have otherwise been a very good year for him based on his trajectory. It felt for a while he was going to be the guy that got the Americans back in the conversation for the 200 free internationally. Maybe a 144 low when 144 low was definitely going to win gold. And he never really quite got there. He kind of just hovered around the fringes at, his best was a 145.0 in 2017. It looked like maybe after Rio, he was turning that corner. And was he the first guy to go 129 in the 200 free in yards?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's it's like we were talking about before with the threshold.
Sorry, no, he wasn't. Peroni did it leading off the relay, and then at that same meet in the individual, Townley got the record back.
Right,
Peroni was the first.
He was part of that first group to go 129, and that was a big deal. And we'll always remember him for that.
Certainly the first to go 130.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the record had stood for however many years, right?
Yeah, like 2006, I think.
6 or 7.
But you're talking yards. I mean, I feel like his potential in long course meters was never actually capitalized on. Like, I feel like it was never fully realized. He did pretty terrific in Rio, not so great in Tokyo. So he was 12th in the 200 free, but he still got a 144 split on the 800 free relay. Okay, so that's something. And then in short course meters, when he was a member of the Cali Condors, he still got a 140.49 in November 2020. So it's not like tons of time away. And he's only 25. I was just really surprised that he retired. Yeah. I mean, he beat Scheffer, he beat Chalmers in the ISL. So, you know what I mean? He's got some cred. I don't get it.
It does. It seems like he was still swimming well and still swimming well if he wanted to. I feel like we've seen a lot more than usual Texas pros kind of step away earlier at an earlier age than maybe normal. I feel like maybe the Texas training is hard to maintain once you're not on the college team and don't have that extra. And once you have to become a little more self-motivated as a professional, that's my theory, at least. And it's not like his events are super easy to train for.
We also don't know how much Eddie is working with the pros, right? At his age, something has to give. And we don't know on an individual level who he is and isn't working with, but we do know that some of their pros he hasn't been working with. So that's probably tough too, to be at Texas, but not be training directly under Eddie, even though he's still around. But, he's still, when you look at the numbers, there's not an obvious person that's going to come up and take his spot.
That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, that's exactly. Because he was 146.0, I think, in Tokyo, or I think that's what he was in the semi for 200 free. I mean, there's not tons of people who were totally like just waiting in line to bust him off that. You know what I mean? Like there should be cluster.
Given what
Mr. 143 at the Olympics, I know.
Given what's happened with the yards, well, it's going to be 143 at the Olympics. Given what's happened with yards lately, like it feels like somebody should be knocking on the door. Another American should be knocking on the door of that 144, and nobody really is.
I mean, so it'll be interesting to see how people respond after this Olympics, right? Because like you said, Brayden, we'd seen it happen in yards a lot. But then in this Olympics, it felt like it finally started to happen where we saw two 144.2s and then a 144.6 and then a 144.6 not even medal, right? And so it's like, okay, finally, maybe we'll start making some headway internationally at big meets.
None of them Americans.
Right. So we'll see. In the ISL last year, Townley only made $21,000, and without any Olympic hardware from Tokyo, that kind of makes it tough financially for him to support himself, or he's newly married as well, for him to support his wife. It's not much to go off of. Speaking of the ISL, we reported this week that Kaitlin Sandeno resigned as the GM for the DC Trident. It's not looking great for the ISL. That's the second GM we've seen resign, I think, in a week. What do we make of this decision or this announcement?
Kaitlin, the way Kaitlin described it, she's not an owner, and we've been led to believe that most of the original GMs had ownership stakes in their teams, and she is not. And the way she made it sound, basically, she was looking for the stability of a job outside of the ISL, and so she's gotten a job outside of swimming. Doesn't leave her time to do the ISL anymore. The stability means a couple of things. It means getting paid on time. It means confidence that the league is going to continue and she's going to continue to be paid into the future. Rob Woodhouse maybe doesn't have the same financial pressures because he's doing very well from his agency business, but it's the same sort of lack of confidence. And I think, the ISL is really in a transition right now. They've brought in Ben Allen, who has been very successful in a lot of arenas, and they've given him some latitude to change some things. As we said last week, we still haven't seen a lot of that change, but I don't blame these old GMs for losing faith, right? Like, you've spent 3 years on this, and it's starting, if you go into year 4, year 5, year 6, and it's not really going to make it, it's to the point where you're sacrificing developing another career, right? Like you're missing out on years that could be spent developing a different career. for this league that you just may or may not have confidence in based on what you've seen. And I
Were
think
the GM, so are they a salaried position, or what kind of money are we talking?
they are, but we've heard different stories about whether they get paid equally, who gets what, who's an owner and who's not. It's all part of the ISL black box, right? We know what we know, and we know what we think we know, and some things we think we know turns out were never true in the first place. But I think Kaitlin, from when I talked to GM, she was one of the ones who really gets it, who understands the amount of kind of the attention to detail you need to put into things like the draft. She has a great camera presence, which the league desperately needs, because they have a lot of people on camera who just kind of annoy the fans. And Kaitlin knows how to talk in front of the camera. She says interesting things, which is pretty rare for an ISL broadcast. So, it hurts them from a perspective, I think, of what she brings as a GM, but also just what she brings as sort of an association with the league. It's going to tell us a lot about who they get to replace Rob Hoodhouse and who they get to replace Kaitlin Sandeno, because they started this thing out saying, we want to be equal between men and women. We saw a female GM leave, replaced with a male. If Kaitlin is replaced by a man, that they are drifting further and further away from the equality that, Loretta, you can roll your eyes all they want, but they said it was part of their ethos. They said this was part of their goal as a sports league. And so they're drifting further and further away from that if they don't replace Kaitlin with a woman.
No, my main thing was Woodhouse said at one time, unless GMs and others who fully understand sport and the commercial landscape are involved in the planning process, there's a difficult road ahead. And that's exactly what we're experiencing right now. There are too many people immersed in swimming and not in business associated with ISL, and that's why it's going to fail.
Just because you're a fast swimmer doesn't mean you make a good GM, doesn't mean you have good ideas. Konstantin Grigorishin has shown time and time again that he has an obsession with Olympic gold medalists. He loves Olympic medalists. And I hope he starts to recognize that there's more of that. There's more that he needs than Olympic gold medalists if he wants this to work.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he needs the Olympic gold medalist swimming, but I'm talking about in the management ranks.
Yep. And FYI, I did hear a rumor that Kusuke Kitajima was going to resign from the Tokyo Frog Kings. I've reached out to them. I've not heard back yet. So,
and that's a big conflict with the Asian Games, right? The season overlaps with the Asian Games.
And that's another thing. I do feel like there are, I don't know. I feel like with the Japanese, there's not as many of their schedule considerations taken into account. So I think that is a big factor. So we'll see how that plays out, but I don't know.
We talked a lot about the athletes' conflicts, but we haven't talked about management conflicts and coach conflicts. These coaches all have athletes who are going to be at the World Championships. Who's going to coach the ISL teams in late June if we're still operating under this weird world where they're going to continue with the season without any athletes or any coaches? It's going to be trouble for them. They're going to have problems.
I do feel like there's still, we've had the world champs announcement. We've had the USA swimming announcement. ISL had their initial announcement, but I still feel like we're kind of waiting for that ball to drop of if they make another announcement about if their schedule is going to change or not.
Yeah, I suspect. Yeah.
Because if it doesn't, that's going to be a sight to see. So last on our list of main news is Brendon Smith of Australia, Olympic bronze medalist in the 400 IM, moving to Griffith. And it just looks like that team is stacked. And Loretta, I want to start with you on this one, but I mean, Emma McKeon, Emily Seabaum, maybe Kaylee McEwen, which I think Brendon Smith and Kaylee McEwen are dating, so it seems likely. But yeah, Loretta, what do you think about this move?
So I'm thinking that it's a love affair that's transcending the pool, I think is what's happening there. So I do think that Brendon has moved specifically because after Chris Mooney left Sunshine Coast, I think that's where she had landed ultimately, was with Michael Bull. So there's that. However, I mean, this is nothing new, right?
Brendon's old coach retired, so he had to move one way or the other.
Well, he did. Yeah. I mean, and Kaylee, she could have gone. She could have gone to God, where in the hell did that dude go?
And they weren't training at the same club before. Yeah, they weren't training at the same club before.
Yeah, but I mean, it's always been a powerhouse team. So 20%, okay, of Australia's Tokyo team was from Griffith. Okay. And that was before these people moved there. So it's always been a powerhouse. You had Steph Rice before. I mean, Emily Seabaum is now there. So it's again, it's nothing new. It's just pieces change. People try out new programs after the Olympics. And, we saw Mitch Larkin do it. Even we said McEwen did it, tried out with Bowl and who in the heck else? Boxel, you know what I mean? So she landed there, and I think it's a good thing, but I don't think it's anything new. I think he's always been a humongous force in the swimming world in Australia. And I think naturally swimmers gravitate toward him because they see success.
I think two things are really interesting about this. One, Australia arguably had their most successful Olympics in swimming.
Legit, they did.
Almost everybody switched teams, which is strange to me that, I get it if it's not working, but everything's working and everybody changed teams. And number two, it feels very much like Michael Bull is the safe coach, which doesn't mean he's not a good coach. He's obviously got the resume that indicates he is a fabulous coach, but he is a known quantity. And lots of athletes left coaches who were outside of their accomplishments, lesser known. Chris Mooney is a good example. He and Emma McEwen did a lot of great things together. She left to go to what?
Kaylee McEwen.
What did I
you
say?
Said Emma.
Okay. Yeah. Kaylee McEwen. And she left to go to the safer coach, which is Michael Bull. So I think it's really fascinating to me how this big migration has gone and where everybody has chosen. I mean, I guess in a little bit, we've seen that in the US with swimmers gravitating to Bob Bowman. But when you look at Caleb Dressel and Katie Ledecky and Natalie Hinds, they go to the hot hand. They all went to Anthony Nesty, who's not a new coach, but he's definitely more the hot hand than sort of the known quantity. Yeah. I've been doing this for multiple cycles.
But at the same time, so we saw Meg Harris and Matthew Temple move to Peter Bishop, South Australia, Marion, Kyle Chalmers coach. So it's the same thing. Like Meg Harris was actually with Michael Bull and she has since moved away from him. So I think it's many, many different parts. You know what I mean? I don't think it's everyone to Bull. I think it's a lot of people just trying different things and, kind of wanting to go with where it fits both lifestyle, mental health, and in the pool.
Yeah. I also feel like that might be a COVID effect, right? Of the fifth year, everyone was stuck in this 2-year Olympic cycle and, coming out of it, I just want something new. I just want something fresh.
Maybe.
I've been with my coach for a long time and swimming is dull to me at this point because I've had to just grind through these last 2 years. I want something to change it up. So that might be a reason as well for why we've seen so much movement, both in Australia and the US, really. So that's our main news for today. And now it's time to play Sink or Swim. On today's Sink or Swim, Loretta will be moderating while Brayden and I duke it out for 3 rounds of NCAA college fun. Loretta?
Yes. So I'm not the NCAA expert, but I'm super excited to moderate this. Okay. So first up, we have Alex Walsh announced her NCAA schedule, specifically the gold medal mill. 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 2 fly. Can she go 3 for 3, sink or swim?
I'm going to sink it. I think she can sweep the IMs. You know what? I'm changing my mind. I'm going to swim it. Obviously, she can win the 200 IM. Kate Douglas or somebody else could beat her, but it's not a stretch to say she's going to win the 200 IM because she won it last year. 400 IM, she's number 1 in the country. Virginia right now has the 3 fastest yard swimmers in the NCAA. Ellen Walsh's converted time kind of interrupts that party a little bit from Short Course Worlds. But I don't think they'd put her in the 400 IM if they didn't think she could beat her teammates. It just doesn't feel like the move to make. And the 200 fly is a really deep field, but there's not like an obvious hammer that she's got to chase. Like I feel like by stepping into the 200 fly, all of those 200 butterflyers are immediately chasing her, which I know is going to be unpopular because it's not like a disrespect to the swimmers who did well last year, but she is the biggest pure talent in that race as soon as she steps into it.
And for that reason, I'm sinking it.
Oh, yeah.
I think she can take both IMs. The 400 IM is obviously newer territory for her, but I mean, like you said, she's such a talent, and she's been training. I was at UVA. I'm talking to Blair, her coach. I'm talking to her about it. It's like she's been putting in the base work for this, but the 200 fly takes more than talent. And I think the swimmers who have been training for it, Olivia Carter, Dakota Luther, Olivia Bray, Kelly Pash, I think is going to be in the mix, but I think they will have that little extra oomph on day 4 of NCAAs, that final session. It is a long meet. It's a lot. And Alex will have a lot more swims than those other girls under her belt by that point. So I think it'll be close. I don't think Alex is getting it in the 2 fly.
She also has a lot more Olympic medals under her belt than
yeah, one.
Mm-hmm. All right, we will see. All right. So still in the college vein, because Stanford women beat Cal, does that mean they're going to keep it close with Virginia at NCAAs? What say you?
I'm sinking it. I think this was probably Stanford's best meet of the year. Reagan's 150 in the 200 back especially was a very, very good swim. We've been waiting for Stanford to kind of show us all year some signs of life, and I think they definitely did that. But Virginia, when you start looking through rankings, like I said, top 3 times in the country in the 400 IM, that's not like the race that you think of when you think Virginia, and they still have the top 3 times in the country. I just think that Virginia has overwhelming depth. Kate Douglas, it looks fine after whatever happened where she missed the midseason invite. They're just good, and they're firing on all cylinders. I don't know. Stanford's got so much talent, but I don't know if they have enough talent this year to challenge Virginia. Maybe next year when Claire Curzan shows up, but I don't think they're going to do it this year.
Well, we say keep it close, so keep it close, right?
And for that reason, I'm
think
swimming
it'll be
it.
that close.
I'm swimming it.
Yeah.
I think they can keep it close because of that top end talent. I think all their stars are going to show up, and I think they'll get a little boost from those next level swimmers who have maybe had a little NCAA experience before. They kind of know how it rolls, and I think they're going to jump up in the rankings. They can keep it close. And then who knows, maybe UVA DQs a relay. We've seen the top team do it before. Yeah. And then boom, it's a meet.
What's close?
20 to 30 points. I think they can be within 20 to 30 points.
I'm going to take the over. I think it'll be more than that.
Okay, so let's run through the conference championships. So it looks like Florida is in control of SEC men's, even without Bobby Fink due to COVID protocols. But what about the SEC women?
I think it's a 2-team battle between Tennessee and Alabama. It's kind of weird to not have Georgia up in that mix. I think it's going to be Tennessee based on depth. I think Alabama's going to score more points at NCAAs, but I think it's Tennessee at SECs.
I'm liking how Alabama's looking this year. They had a red hot midseason. Margot Gear really looks like she knows what she's doing and in control of this team. And I kind of like their chances at upsetting Tennessee, even though on paper they definitely have the depth. But I'm going Bama. Roll Tide.
All right, moving on to Big Ten women. Brayden.
I can't pick against Ohio State again. We've done it the last 2 years, and we've been wrong both times. The new Big Ten rules makes their depth a little less valuable, but I don't think a whole lot. I think Ohio State's going to surprise everybody who picks against them again, and they're going to take the 3-peat.
I'm making the same mistake. 3rd time's the charm. So
you don't have to read the comments.
So Michigan, here we go. Maggie McNeil is just too good at swimming this year to let her team not win. She's been this good. Sorry.
The fighting Maggie McNeils will win the Big Ten.
She's gonna do it. She's gonna lift Michigan up on her shoulders and push them to victory.
Capable shoulders.
All right. So ACC wise, it looks like Virginia's in control of the women, but what about the men then? Okay, Coleman, you go first.
Oh no!
You
better
ACC
take who you
men.
said you were going to take.
Psych. No, I think. God, I think Louisville can repeat. I think they surprise. I think they surprised everyone last year, and I think that they are really good at doing that. And once they've gotten a taste for blood as champions, I don't think they're going to let it go easily, even with NC State's massive freshman class.
But you know who has the most recent taste for blood? The NC State Wolfpack men, thanks to their prodigious victory in Fortnite over the University of Florida. And for that reason, I am taking NC State to win the ACC title.
For no other reason aside that they're good at Fortnite.
If it comes down, look, you saw the video. It came down clutch, 3 kills at the end to win. If it comes down to the final day at ACCs and they've got to get 3 wins to win the meet, they're going to get those 3 wins. NC State for the W.
We'll see about
based
that.
On Fortnite.
Okay. I'm doing a bonus. I'm curious. So NC State and Florida. Men's teams? Who do you think will place higher at NCAAs?
That's such a good one. NC State just feels so deep. Like even without Noah Ponte, like they still feel like they've just got all these swimmers in little corners of events.
They do, but what's that going to mean in NCAAs, right? I mean, can they get people in B finals? How many realistic A finals are they going to have? Whereas Florida, they've got studs. They've got like bona fide studs.
I guess we don't know how long Bobby Fink is going to be out of the water with this COVID thing, but it's still a while till NCAAs. So I'm going to take Florida. You talked me into it.
I think my hot take for this is I think Bobby Fink is missing SEC so he can start his taper early. He needs that monster of a taper so that he can go under 14 minutes at NCAAs in the mile.